So y'all, we back with Kindred, and like I said before, they got different titles of the book, so they go by the chapters like that. So we on the Fold, part one. I think Kevin was as lonely and out of place as I was when I met him. Though he was handling it better, but then he was about to escape. I was I was working out of a casual labor agency. We regulars call it a slave market. Actually, it was just the opposite of slavery. The people who ran it couldn't have care less whether or not you showed up to do work they offered. They always had more jobs hunters. They always had more job hunters than jobs anyway. If you wanted them to think about using you, you went to their office around 6 in the morning, signed in, and sat down to wait. Waiting with you were winos trying to work themselves into a few more hotties, bottles, I'm sorry. Poor women with children trying to supplement their welfare checks. Kids trying to get a first job. Older people who lost one job too many. And usually a poor, crazy old street lady who talked to herself constantly and who wasn't going to be high no matter what because she only wore one shoe. I only wore one shoe, wow. You sat and sat until the dispatcher either sent you out on a job or sent you home. Home meant no money. Put another potato in the oven or in desperation. Sell some blood at one of the storefronts down the street from the agency. I had only done that once. Getting sent out meant the minimum wage, minus Uncle Sam's share, for as many hours as you were needed. You swept floors, stuffed envelopes, took inventory, washed dishes, sorted potato chips, really, cleaned toilets, marked prices on merchandise. You did whatever you were out to sent to do. It was nearly always mindless work, and as far as most employers were concerned, it was done by mindless people. Non-people rented for a few hours, a few days, a few weeks. It didn't matter. I did the work, I went home, I ate, and then slept for a few hours. Finally, I got up and wrote. At 1 or 2 in the morning, I was fully awake, fully alive, and busy working on my novel. During the day, I carried a little box of doughs. I kept awake with them, but not very wide awake. The first thing Kevin ever said to me was, "Why do you go around looking like a zombie all the time?" He was just one of the several regular employees at an auto parts shop, where a group of us from the agency were doing the inventory. I was wandering around between shelves of nuts, bolts, hubcaps, chromes, and heaven knew what else, checking other people's work. I had a habit of showing up every day and of being able to count. So the supervisor decided that zombie or not, I should check the others. He was right. People came in after a hard night of drinking and counted 5 units per clearly marked 50 units containers. Zombie, I repeated, looking up from a tray of short black wires at Kevin. You look like you sleepwalk through the day, he said. Are you house on something or what? He was just a stock helper or some such bottom of the ladder type. He had no authority over me, and I didn't owe him any explanation. I do my work, I said quietly. I turned back to the wires, counted them, corrected the inventory slip, initialed it, and moved down to the next shelf. Buzz told me you were a writer, said the voice that I thought had gone away. Look, I can't count with you talking to me. I pulled out a tray full of large screws, 25 to a box. Take a break. Did you see that? Hold up. Did you see that agency guy they sent home yesterday? He took 1 minute, 2 breaks. Unfortunately, I need this job. Are you a writer? I'm a joke as far as Buzz is concerned. He thinks people are strange if they even read books. Besides, I added bitterly, what would a writer be doing working out of a slave market? keeping herself and renting hamburgers, I guess. That's what I'm doing working at the warehouse. I woke up a little then and really looked at him. He was an unusual looking white man. His face young, almost unlined, but his hair completely gray, and his eyes so pale as to be almost colorless. He was muscular, well built, but no taller than my own 5'8", so that I found myself looking directly into the strange eyes. I looked away startled, wondering whether I had really seen Ayla there. Maybe he was more important in the warehouse than I thought. Maybe he had some authority. Are you a writer? I asked. I am now, he said, and he smiled. Just sold a book. I'm getting out of here for good on Friday. I stared at him with a terrible mixture of envy and frustration. Congratulations. Look, he said, still smiling. It's almost lunchtime. Eat with me. I want to hear about what you're writing. And he was gone. I haven't said yes or no, but he was gone. Hey, whispered another voice behind me. Buzz, the agency clown when he was sober. Wine put him into some kind of trance. He just sat and stared and looked retarded, which he wasn't quite. He just didn't give a damn about anything, including himself. He drank up his pay and walked around in rags. Also, he never bathed. Hey, you two going to get together and write some books? He said, leering. Get out of here, I said, breathing as shallow as possible. You going to write some pornography together? He went away laughing. Later at one of the round wrestling metal tables in a corner of the warehouse that served as the lunch area, I found out about my new writer friend, Kevin Franklin. His name was, and he never only gotten his book published, but he had made a big paperback sale. He could live on the money while he wrote his next book. He could give up shit work, hopefully forever. Why aren't you eating? He asked when he stopped for breath. The warehouse was in a newly built industry section of Thompson, far enough from coffee shops and a hot dog stand to discourage most of us from going out to eat. Some people brought their lunches. Others brought them from the catering truck. I had done neither. All I was having was a cup of the free dishwash. Hold up. All I was having was a cup of the free dishwater coffee available to all the warehouse workers. I'm on a diet, I said. He stared at me for a moment, then got up, motioned me up. Come on, where? To the truck if it's still there. Wait a minute, you don't have to. Listen, I've been on that kind of diet. I'm all right, I lied, embarrassed. I don't want anything. Hold on. He left me sitting there, went to the truck, and came back with a hamburger, milk, a small wedge of apple pie. Eat, he said. I'm still not rich enough to waste money, so eat. To my own surprise, I ate. I hadn't intended to. I was caffeine jitterily, and surely and perfectly capable of wasting his money. After all, I told him not to spend it, but I ate. Buzz slided by. Hey, he said low voice. Porn. He moved on. What? Said Kevin. Nothing. I said, he's crazy. Then, thanks for lunch. Sure, now tell me, what is you write? What is it you write? Short story so far, but I'm working on a novel. Naturally, have any of your stories sold? Some to little magazines no one ever heard of, the kind of paying copies of the magazine. He shook his head. You're going to starve. No, after a while, I'm convinced myself that my aunt and uncles were right. About what? That you should have been an accountant? I surprised myself by laughing out loud. The food was reviving me. They didn't think of accounting, I said, but they would have approved of it. It's what they would call sensible. They wanted me to be a nurse, a secretary, or a teacher like my mother. At the very best, a teacher. Yes, he signed. I was supposed to be an engineer myself. That's better, at least. Not to me. Well, anyway, now you have proof that you're right. He shrugged and didn't tell me what he would later. That his parents, like mine, were dead. They had died years before in an auto accident, still hoping that he might come to his senses and become an engineer. My aunt and uncle said I could write in my spare time if I wanted to. I told him. Meanwhile, for the real future, I was to take something sensible in school if I expected them to support me. I went from the nursing program to a secretarial major, and from there to elementary education, all in 2 years. It was pretty bad, so was I. What did you do? He said. Flunk out. I choked on a piece of pie crust. Of course not. I already got good grades. They just didn't mean anything to me. I couldn't manufacture enough interest in the subjects to keep me going. Finally, I got a job, moved away from home and quit school. I still take extension classes at UCLA, though, when I can afford them, writing classes. Is this the job you got? No, I worked for a while at an hold up. No, I worked for a while at an aerospace company. I was just a clerk typist, but I talked myself into their publicity office. I was doing articles for their company newspaper and press release to send out. They were glad to have me do it once I showed them I could. They had a writer for the price of a clerk typist. Sounds like something you could have stayed with and moved up. I meant to. Ordinary clerical work I couldn't stand, but that was good. Then about a year ago, they laid off the whole department. He laughed, but it sounded like sympathetic laughs. Buzz coming back from the coffee machine muttering, chocolate and vanilla porn. I closed my eyes in desperation. He always did that. Started a joke that wasn't funny to begin with, then beat it to death. God, I wish he'd get drunk and shut up. Does getting drunk shut him up? Asked Kevin. I nodded. Nothing else will do it. No matter what, no matter. I heard what he said this time. The bell rang into the lunch hour, and he grinned. He had a grin that completely destroyed the effects of his eyes. Then he got up and left. But he came back. He came back all week at breaks at lunch. My daily drawback at the agency gave me money enough to buy my own lunches and pay my landlady a few dollars. But I still look forward to seeing him, talking to him. He had written and published 3 novels, he told me. Oh, I'm sorry. He had written and published 3 novels, he told me. And outside members of his family, he never met anyone who read one of them. They brought so little money that he gone on taking mindless jobs like this one at the warehouse. And he gone on writing. Unreasonably against the advice of saner people, he was like me, a kindred spirit, crazy enough to keep on trying. And now finally, I'm even crazier than you, he said. After all, I'm older than you, old enough to recognize failure and stop dreaming. So I told, so am told. They're words, I tell you. I'm talking about these words. He was a prematurely gray 34. He had been surprised to learn that I was only 22. You look older, he said tactlessly. So do you, I muttered. He laughed. I'm sorry, but at least it looked good on you. I wasn't sure what was. I wasn't sure what it was that looked good on me, but I was glad he liked it. He likes and dislikes. His likes and dislikes were becoming important to me. One of the women from the agency told me with typical slave market candor that he and I were the weirdest looking couple she had ever seen. I told her not too gentle that she hadn't seen much and that it was none of her business anyway. But from then on, I thought of Kevin and I as a couple. It was pleasant. It was a pleasant thinking. My time at the warehouse and his job there ended on the same day. Buzz matchmaking has given us a week together. Listen, said Kevin on the last day. You like plays? Plays, sure. I wrote a couple while I was in high school. One actor, pretty bad. I did something like that myself. He took something from his pocket and held it out to me. It was tickets. Two tickets to a hit play that had just come to Los Angeles. I think my eyes glittered. I don't want you to get away from me just because we won't be co-workers anymore, he said. Tomorrow evening? Tomorrow evening, I agree. It was a good evening. I brought him home with me when it was over, and the night was even better. Sometimes during the early hours of the next morning when we lay together, tired and content in my bed, I realized that I knew less about loneliness than I had thought, and much less that I would know when he went away. That was a tough read. So I'll be back with chapter 2 by my reaction.